about this series yet. What basically is Mongly syndrome about?
It's about an aspiring K-pop idol. So it's a girl named Mei, and unfortunately she can't sing or dance, but she really wants to be an idol more than anything in the world. She's obsessed with becoming the next K-pop idol, and she auditions for things at her school, and she's just a regular teenage girl until the day that she enters this one particular competition at her school where there's a K-pop idol management company that comes and does auditions at the school. Mm-hmm. And so she decides to enter the competition, and she's really a disaster. But in the middle of her epic failure, this K-pop fairy comes to her, and that's the Mongly. It's a little creature, I guess. You could say, kind of like a fairy sprite, and I guess you could say that Tang Tang, who's the Mongly, is so moved by her ambition and just her chutzpah that Tang Tang manifests to her and helps her to transform into a super idol. And then she's able to ace the audition, and suddenly she has all these superhuman singing and dancing powers. So she does have the ability to transform, but it's not automatic and immediate. She has to learn how to manage those powers and work with Tang Tang to be consistent. And then there's a whole process of her getting accepted into the idol training program, and she's got to navigate cliques and other bad forces and all kinds of stuff, teenagerhood as well as magical girlhood. And so it's about just an aspiring K-pop idol who then assumes magical powers and stuff happens.
Awesome. So she's a magical idol, but she's still going to be doing some kind of fighting of evil.
Yes.
I think yes. Very interesting. And if I recall correctly, there's also a boy in this group as well. I've seen from the trailers and stuff. Can you tell us about him?
I suspect as the series progresses, he could become more of a love interest, but really in the beginning, he starts out more as a mentor and a protector and an ally. So of course the goal is to have chemistry, and of course that's what people want to watch, like a budding romance. But at least in season 1, he's not intended to be the love interest. He's kind of mysterious. Yeah, and he's more of a shadowy protector figure.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to always be like jumping right into romance. It can be a slow burn and stuff. But yeah. Awesome. So now, from what I've heard, this is coming out this year. Do you know at this time around when this year it'll come out?
No. There have been some delays behind the scenes for a variety of reasons, and so I don't have a release schedule, and it could come by surprise. I could find out tomorrow it's premiering next week, but I'm not in the trenches on the show at the moment. I'm still in contact with Jin Choi because we have a long collaboration and so forth, but I'm not actively developing or localizing right now, because that's one of the main things that I do with Jin is simultaneously, like, he'll create the Korean version of whatever it is, and then I'm involved in the English language version. But we oftentimes work in tandem so that it's not a process of reinventing the wheel when the time comes to export to other countries. And then oftentimes we're searching for distribution in other countries simultaneously. So I've had the experience working on IPs from a lot of different countries, not just Korea and Japan, but India, the Middle East, different places where the intellectual property might fit the specs of a children's property in that country or that region, but not necessarily in other places. Or like the goal is to sell to Disney. Disney has a very specific way that not just video file specs. So there are the tech specs that you have to be mindful of, but also just the aesthetic, the spirit, and the branding. You must be mindful of Disney branding, and so if that's a goal of yours, it's as a licensor, it's in your best interest to package your material like that from the get-go, and not say like, not go and pitch it and be like, oh yeah, well we can make it whatever you want when the time is right. No, you're dealing with business people and not necessarily creative types, and they need to see it. They need to see what you're talking about. So that's how I work with Jen to make it a globalized package.
It's really interesting to hear about that, and it like makes a lot of sense. Right now it feels like Korea is really becoming one of the hot spots for magical girl series. Obviously Teeny Pink is a kind of like the big monster right now, but there's we see like there's Secret Juju, there's all kinds of other shorter series that appear for one season and then it's done. So it's definitely interesting to hear about like what that side of things is, just because while Teeny Pink is getting, some, distribution globally, it feels like a lot of them do just kind of stay in Korea, or like, we can internationally, we can watch it in Korean, like, cause they're almost always on YouTube and stuff. But, yeah, it's definitely seems mostly, a localized thing. So it is interesting to hear that this is a series that is intended to get international distribution later, hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah. So as you already mentioned, like toys are definitely a big part of this genre. So is the toy production also kind of pretty big in terms of how the Korean series work as well?
For Jin Toy, it is for sure. Like Jin, very much from the beginning of his career. First of all, he studied animation in the States. So he's a graduate of the Academy of Art in the Bay Area. He has an MFA in animation. So he has a very global sensibility as far as coming up with a business plan around he's very creative, but he's also technical and business savvy. And so even from the days of Z Squad, he had created toy prototypes. He invented toys, and that was part of what he presented to me at my third interview for the job. He's like, these are all the toy prototypes, and I loved it. That made my job easier, because a lot of times people will come up with ideas for things and it's just conceptual, but anytime you can have something to show, it makes it more real for the people that you're trying to get to be stakeholders. But yeah, Jin is very mindful of the toy content connection, and so he always builds that in. And this, he's created a number of different shows. And also, fun fact, Soo-Hoon Kim, who is the head of Samji Animation Studio, creators of Teeny Ping, Soo-Hoon Kim used to work for Jin Choi.
Wow.
And so when I started working for NMS, I was simultaneously working for Samji. So I was representing Samji properties in the US as well. NMS has been renamed NPIX, but it's both of those are Jin Choi's companies. But Jin really saw himself as a mentor to Mr. Kim. And so he's like, oh, Marlene can work on Mr. Kim's projects too. So surprise. So yeah, for a while I was working on My Giant Friend was one of Samji's early projects, and what else? The Odd Family. There were a few other things I can't remember because that was a lot of years ago. But Mr. Kim, I'm still very much plugged into what he's doing. I didn't work on Teeny Ping, but Jin was right there in observing the whole process and talking with Mr. Kim and advising him, and they're very close. So no doubt, and you can look at the Mongly Syndrome designs, you can see that there's a shared influence. Also, Samji and NPIX work together on Miraculous Ladybug.
Yes.
So you can look at Z Squad and then Miraculous Ladybug as contract animation, so they were doing the outsource